How have you found your life's changed since you've obviously pulled back on the booze and gotten fitter and healthier and lost weight?
Oh, it's changed heaps. Yeah, I guess being more awake. I guess like you're not in that cruise mode, like just cruising through life. Like I actually realize what's happening. With maybe it's even saying a swear word or in more control as to what I'm going to do. Road rage, all of that stuff. Like just from listening to what you guys say and doing that, you're actually thinking about it now and going, right, they're right. Like old mate probably isn't aware in front of me that he's doing whatever he's doing, but me screaming out of my windscreen at him doesn't change anything for him, does it? It just all it does is takes my energy and focus away from, I guess, being peaceful and just enjoying life.
Mm.
Yeah.
So energy and focus, they're two big things, Matt, and we'll use that as our intro. Welcome to another Real Dad Member podcast. What do you reckon, mate? Talking about this sort of stuff. I found that energy and focus is really big, and we will use that. We'll run that. That's a great intro, mate, talking about alcohol and the role it plays in many people's lives, and for yourself, how you've noticed a change and a shift. But when we're looking at focus and energy, you're right. A lot of people, I think, just tend to be foggy. Like they're just in a foggy state. They're never actually really, building themselves or changing or improving their circumstances or even having a higher level of awareness of what happens around them, which means they can't control their actions or they get triggered or whatnot. But how long have you been with RDM for, mate? And I guess I wouldn't mind you just sharing a bit of your background and your story of why you reached out and where we are now.
Yeah, so I've been with RDM for about 20 weeks, and I guess I was at that point in my life where I knew I needed to change, but I just didn't know how to change. And as I probably said it before, I was looking for a quick fix or a something there. The man challenge was the thing I guess I was looking into, but knowing that I might as well just chuck the $100 note in the bin, because after that 4 weeks, if I lasted that long, I would just go back to the same old me. So, yeah, as other guys have said, I don't know how I found RDM. It's like it found me. It appeared there, and I guess I was probably hesitant at first looking at it. I think we probably talked for a couple of months there on and off. And then, just went, I think I need to investigate this a bit further. And, here we are.
Yeah, mate. Fast forward 5 short months and did Kosciuszko with us, our first national event, which was pretty epic, which we'll definitely dive into in this episode. It was awesome. I really enjoyed seeing what you guys brought together. It exceeded my expectations, Matt, on what I wanted to deliver and have in terms of environment and energy, and that's because of all of you. But I'm curious, mate, because while it's been a chaotic year in 2020, it's always interesting that there is that level of holding back or hesitation, whatnot. Do you know why, even within yourself and your story, do you know why you held back or held off? Or is it because what we do is predominantly online, you weren't sure about whether that would work, or me as a person? Or was there a reason why there's a bit of a holding off period before you dived on into it?
I guess you're always doubtful of what it actually is. And then it's probably that little voice inside saying, oh, you don't need to do that, we're cruising along all right, so don't do it. But to be honest, I wish I'd done it sooner, because once I I guess even at the start, you don't realise what you're actually joining. You just think that you're joining something to lose weight, but once you've actually been in, and it probably takes a couple of months of doing the round tables and doing the charge ups and listening to other guys and interacting in the group to actually realise that it's so much more than that. As I said on the testimonial, and that weight is nothing. I don't even look at it now. I did weigh myself before we went to Kosciuszko, and I think I was about 106. So that's 10 kilos down from when I started. But, you know, as I said, I can see it here in my face. I can see it in my guts. I can, you know, here, you can see things are changing. And as we said, I can definitely see muscles coming on. So the scales really don't give you an accurate answer, do they?
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's so much more than just your weight. It's about giving you energy and giving you structure, and with that structure, self-value and self-respect, how you handle yourself with others, how you spend your time. You know, we're all going to spend the time anyway. We're entering, or a lot of the dads similar self are entering or in the second half. Like, it's one of those things where sometimes, especially with that answer, I ask myself, like, do you think that I'm actually speaking the wrong message, like with our ads or our marketing and the message we push? Or do you think it's something that is sometimes too hard to describe, the environment and the energy of RDM? Or do you think it comes down to sometimes that little voice inside, like I said, and a bit of self-sabotage and just dads holding back on creating that change they know they need?
So I think it is a massive step to take the step that I've taken, and people just aren't ready to do it. I think they just live that life of, you know, they go to work, they eat bad food, they drink alcohol, you know, they don't really live life. They just survive, don't they? And people just don't want to get out of that comfort zone. They just that's what they've done for the last 20 years, and I was exactly the same. And that's it. They just go, well, that's what I do. You know, we were talking about it at work the other day, and they said so many people would that's what they'd do. They'd live week to week, paycheck to paycheck, just the same, you know, buy their takeaways the same days a week, alcohol, smokes, whatever they do. And, you know, one of the guys at work, I got some new tyres fitted on Wednesday afternoon, and it was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I got my jeans, my boots, and my polo shirt on that I wear to work. 3 o'clock, old mate said, it'll be 40 minutes. Do you want to go for a walk, or do you just want to sit here? And I said, no, I'll go for a walk. So I did a 3K walk in 35 degrees with jeans on. And one of the blokes at work the next day says, oh, Matt, I seen you walking up the road there yesterday. He said, what were you doing? So I went for a walk, mate. Well, what for? I said, do some exercise for the day. Yeah, but why? Why would you want to do that? You know, I said, because I said, that's what, yeah, I said, like, when you get like a bit older in life, because these blokes are only 20, 21, I said, you realise that smoking pot, smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol is something that you don't need to do like you did when you were 20, mate, you know? And they said, oh, no, shit, no, we'll still be doing it then. I said, well, that's good. But I said, I want to be around to annoy my grandkids, you know, and stir them up for my kids. I said, I've got payback to get on these kids, you know. So I said, I'm getting off all that shit, and I'm focusing on, you know, getting fitter and healthier. Yeah, but they just look at you like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Like, you know.
It's interesting, isn't it? And for me, it's interesting because when I see people who, not that I'm saying they are, but when I see people acting like victims or just taking the lesser option or shifting blame or responsibility or ownership to others, really, they don't even know they're doing it. It comes down to that level of settling, you know, mate, like you said, and they're not striving to have an awareness or understanding. Like some people, like you said, will never understand why you went for that walk, because they don't want to get out of the current paradigm that they live in. And that's a big thing, mate. Like you doing that is unreal. You're creating space, taking time out for yourself. And what I see a lot of the times, Matt, which is why, A, I like connecting with dads that are older, but B, that connection comes with a level of purpose and importance, is I see a gap. I see a gap between guys who become dads for the first time between sort of 24 and 30, and then 45, I'm falling apart, life's turned to shit. And it's like, mate, some of these dads, because I have a lot more phone calls than dads who are members, and that's not because they said no to me, it's because they said no to themselves or they weren't a good fit for us. And I look at these guys, I'm like, mate, you've 15 years, 20 years, some 5 years. Okay, 5 years you won't get back. Like, why do you think there's just this level of settling? Or do you have any idea around why some people just, like you said, they ask you why, or they don't want to change?
I guess I can't answer for them, but I just think that you just get set in your ways. And as I said, like that little voice inside, just a great example, you know, now I used to use an excuse to have a shit day at work just so I could come home and drink beer, I reckon. So I just, oh, that was a shit day, you know, as soon as I got home to the fridge. And then nowadays, I don't even have a shit day anymore. I just think this is great. You know, I walk out, I got my snacks I have in the car on the way home, and I'm coming home to do exercise, and I'm happy. Like, so yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how it ends up like that, but it just, yeah, I guess things just bottle up and they just get stuck in their ways.
Yeah, for yourself, mate, like you're reaching out, taking those steps and making that commitment is unbelievable, you know, because you're right. People do get set in their ways, they get stuck, and you taking those steps, there must have been some, you know, people talk about toughness or this sort of stuff, and the older generations might, you know, connect that with not crying or having muscles or, you know, beating your chest or getting in fights or something. For me, toughness is having the awareness to go, hey, you know what? I'm being a fucking pussy in life. Like that's the terminology I use for myself sometimes. I'm not saying you guys were, or the guys who don't reach out to me are, but how I see it is that victim mentality is a way of giving up and just settling for the current version of who you are, who'll get worse over time. Mate, you rose up, you talk about having your right snacks, your meal prep and that sort of stuff, which has just blossomed the last couple of months, whether it's consistent all the time or not, you actually developing and running with that is a huge feat in itself. Exercising, like it was inspiring to see you and the other dads when we did Kosciuszko, which we'll dive into in a sec, to look at these guys and go, look at what they've done. You know, I'm not doing your reps for you. I love the platform we've built together, but the credit's yours. And what are some of the biggest things or changes or greatest things that you've gotten so far out of RDM for yourself in your personal life?
I guess just setting those routines for one. So, you know, every day getting up and doing my exercise in the mornings. Yeah, meal prepping is huge. Like before, I've always probably not eaten super unhealthy during the week, but it was always leftover meals, but it could have been anything, you know. So where now it's, you know, I do 3 days on Sunday, and then Wednesday night or as we go during the week, we always make sure we got the meals to cover the rest of the week, and I cook another couple of breakfasts. And as you said, it's just, if it's there and it's in the fridge, then in the mornings, you know, at probably 5:15, I'm finished with our exercise. I can get straight to the fridge and get lunch packing, breakfast in the microwave. It's cooking while I'm packing and making yogurt and berries and you know, cutting everything up, and it's done. It takes, you know, that 45 minutes I've got, not a lot of time, and it goes very fast, but I can get everything that I need to get done in that time and in the car by 6 to go to work. So, and I'm set for the day, you know? Yeah.
That's awesome. When you talk about, I'm thinking of systems and even structure. I've got it on my wall there. Structure, which then has time, effective, focus, performance, mindset, mental energy, accountability, support, your relationships, results, sustainability, all of those, you know, they're built around having that structure and routines, which is another word you could use. How's this help with your attitude, with your children, with yourself, the thoughts that you have?
Yeah, it's yeah, even and my wife also, like the relationship we have now is tenfold on what it used to be. Not that it was bad, but you know, I guess we gel better now, you know, like I'm at home here during the school year, you know, making dinners for them. So when they get home, everything's ready to go. And, you know, so she doesn't have to stress out about doing stuff. You know, I'm helping clean the kitchen and do other jobs to help, you know, take some stress off her. And I guess just sitting there talking about things instead of being asleep on the couch because, you know, you had a bad day, you had a few stubbies, you had dinner, you're falling asleep on the couch at 7:30. So you don't even have a life, like, you know. And the kids are the same. Like, you know, we spend a lot more time doing stuff, whether it's, you know, watching a movie or being outside playing something or doing something, you know. So
yeah, absolutely, mate. And like you said, it might not necessarily be bad, but if there's fathers listening to this and they mope or moan or they bitch or they talk about their misses or they're not happy with certain things or they're not connected at a certain level, there's an area of ownership and pulling their heads in that needs to take place to go, you know what, I'm actually rewarding myself. Like by you transforming your own life, Matt, what you're doing is you're paying yourself by having a better relationship, because what you're doing for your wife comes back, what you're doing with your kids comes back. That letter, which is a very personal letter, like I'm not going to read it here. I've got it hung up at home, and it's very humbling, mate. When we're at Kosciuszko, for little Luce to give me that letter, and it's just seeing the effects it has on your kids, mate. You know, it was pretty humbling to see.
Yeah, that's it.
How was Kosciuszko, mate? Catching up in person and you know, coming together as a tribe.
That was really good. I think, I guess, you know, only being there for a short time to have that opportunity so quick was just great to catch up with all the guys. You know, it's just, I guess that the bond and the connection that you have with those guys you have met now is so much better than what it was before. You know, just having that time to sit there and talk to them one on one and get to know everyone. Yeah, it was amazing. Really was.
Do you think this is because I've got videos that we did an interview at Cosy and several other dads, obviously, and I'm going to be rolling all of them out just to share the message and the story of RDM, the tribe, the environment. But it's interesting. There's a common theme when we went through it all, when I went through all of this as well and putting the videos together, of how amazing the tribe was together. But do you think we could have had that if we didn't have that level of connection, just 1% every day in what we do using technology and using our groups and coaching and whatnot?
Probably not, no. There would have been blokes that probably sat around, and I would probably be a perfect example. Like if I went to a place like that cold and didn't know anyone, I would probably be that guy that would just sit back and absorb a lot, but probably wouldn't have had any input. You know, that's the type of guy I'd probably become over the years. You know, I was probably, you know, many years ago, probably quite a smart ass and pretty outgoing, I suppose, but just over the years became, yeah, just, I guess, very reserved and just, I didn't say much, you know. So I guess, yeah, having that few months to interact with guys and yourselves definitely got me in a more comfortable zone to, you know, I was definitely nervous leaving here and flying down there, you know, to meet everyone. But yeah, I guess once like Chris picked me up at the airport, once you'd actually seen him, it was, and all the other guys, it was like you'd known them for a long time, and you'd done this before, but so that made it a lot easier. Yeah.
It's incredible, isn't it? Yeah, you travelled. There was one fella in North Queensland, Tone, couldn't make it, unfortunately. But you travelled further than any other dad, which for me was humbling and a great sign of respect to me and to you, really, to recognise that there were plenty of dads there I'd never met in person as well. And you're right, it's just like it just clicks. And I think the value in that, and this is the interesting part, and I love the terminology you use, cold. The value in that is we've got this level of warmth and strength together because we are connected every single day. And yes, we might reach a little peak, you know, at the peak, you know, climbing Kosciuszko because we're in person, and that's unreal as well. But what gave that the footing to be possible was what we have here in my online coaching, in RDM being an online platform, but not traditionally an online platform where that's it and we just send some emails and whatnot. Like we do videos like this, we do round tables, we do our coaching sessions where there's lots of feedback questions, check-ins, our own dream teams. There'd have to be over a dozen touch points a week, and some guys engage more to have several dozen. And it's amazing to see that come to fruition with what's almost like a 2D world. Like right now, I'm looking at you on the screen here in my office, to see these men, and like you said, just gel right away and game on. You can have an event where you run some great music and you talk some emotional things and you get a couple of tears, but for that entire tribe and for all of us there to have some pretty solid, pretty deep emotional moments, which obviously we're not going to release those to the public. That was a privilege we all had together. it was inspirational for me, mate, to dive in deeper and go, you know what, there's a lot of hard stuff I'm going through at the moment with my third born, and he's very young, and just so many different things with that energy wise that it's totally worth it, what we've created and what we continue to create.
That's right. To have that, just to be able to be comfortable to, you know, to share what I guess myself and other guys shared over that experience. You couldn't do that. People wouldn't have shared that sort of stuff if you didn't have that connection. Hey, you know, it just, you know, I guess some of the things you shared there, I wouldn't have shared with my wife 6 months ago, you know, like I wouldn't have showed my emotions and feelings because you just bottled it up inside and didn't say anything. But, you know, I guess that's another great thing about this, just saying what you need to say and get it out in the open, you know. It makes you feel so much better just to express how you feel, you know, and not be judged for it. That's, you know, because people definitely judge you, or the wrong people definitely judge you. So, you know.
Yeah, it's very genuine to have that platform. Like what I shared about my father and brought a tear to my eye, mate. Like this is something that I hadn't even shared with my wife. I told her about it afterwards, and it was great to have that vulnerability, but not be somewhere where we're just dumping or looking to be saved. Like it's a strong group of men that have that awareness with each other and that common ground or that respect with each other. It really is built off what we do every single day. But what are some key mindset takeaways that you've had so far with RDM and maybe with Kosciuszko as well? Like, what are some key mindset things that you have in place now? Might be your routines, might be some other things that you didn't have before.
Yeah, definitely. Like the routines, just I guess that structure, so you know that. But like I haven't got it written down, but I could basically write down my days from Monday to Friday. You know, I'm running in that pattern every day. My Fitness Pal I haven't used for weeks now because I've got it to that point where I know, and I eat the same food nearly every week. I might change the meat around a little bit, but basically the same thing. It's just, and it's very easy to do that. Confidence, I've even like noticed in that, and it's probably only been since Kosciuszko and since you've asked me to do this, and Adam asked me to do that testimonial a couple of days ago, of going, you know, like feeling a little bit that, oh, geez, I don't know if I can do this, to saying to myself, you know, you can do this. Like, you do it as soon as you say you're going to do it. So yeah, the confidence is becoming really, really strong, which is good to get that back, because I know I was lacking that for a long time, you know. And I guess not being able to control yourself. I still have bad days, and the kids drive you crazy when you're trying to do something, and that's the time when I do probably swear, and I know I shouldn't, and that's something I have to work on, but it's such a small percentage of like a week now where that would have been probably a daily occurrence, you know, some time ago. It's great to be able to, I guess, be awake enough inside to know that you just need to stop for a minute, breathe, and it's probably not as bad as you're making it out to be, you know. You know, they are only kids after all, and they really don't do that much wrong, but I think sometimes you just need a break. And as you said, like, and other guys have said, coming home with having the shits on it after a bad day of work and coming in home, well, that I used to do that all the time. I don't even, as I said, I don't even think I have bad days anymore, just from recognizing that I probably never did to start with. It was just me telling myself I did, you know. Yeah.
It's incredible to see those changes when you look at the physical energy, what we do. That yes, dads lose weight, they get in shape with us, and they get more energy and they eat well, and all of that. It's all effective for them. We make it as structured as possible for them and their families, so they've got a high success rate. But the shift between the years, you speak about like your habits, or kicking to the curb some of the badder ones or the ones that can trigger you. I've got that as well, mate. Certainly got that with the 3 at the moment. You can get triggered very easily, but you can check yourself before it becomes something that you later sort of throw your arms up in the air and go, oh, why did I do that? Or you have that small portion of, I should have done this differently. But then all the way through to that confidence, like this podcast. Like, this has been an awesome podcast show so far, where you're sharing your stories, what you're doing. And you're right, mate, like a lot of the dads initially might feel a bit nervous or unsure of themselves or unsure of doing this, of how it'll be received. Almost every single dad who's jumped on and done this. But then we've had fathers who reach out with stories, and they will, like yours as well, Matt, that'll connect and go, yeah, you know what, this really spoke to me, Al. Which I don't know what that means for me, mate, because maybe people don't listen to the ones I do on my own.
No, I've listened to them plenty of times. I listened to one with, I think it was Drew's first podcast. I reckon it's the 3rd time I've listened to it, and I actually heard something that I hadn't heard before the other day. So it just goes to show, when you're sitting in the car for that time listening to these, you're not always, I guess, 100% focused and actually listening to what people are saying. You know, even the one with Hawkeye, I listened to it the 2nd time and heard things I didn't hear the first time, because you must be just focusing on, I guess, driving and then listening and doing other things. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, it's something where there's several, mate, that I want to listen to again. I just don't like the sound of my own voice on a computer. That's all. Always holds me back a bit. Plus, anyone with Paul Garrett, he's got the baritone voice. It's like I've got a lump in my throat or something when I'm talking next to that bloke. Bloody hell. But, yeah, it's very inspiring to see the stories and to have guys like yourself to share it. Like, it's critical for RDM to really thrive, because then it just doesn't come from me, mate. It comes from many other dads. I mean, were there some good shares that you got or takeaways that you got from some of the other dads opening up when we were in Kosci?
Definitely, yeah. You know, to hear, I can't think of his name.
Oh, Cowman, he had about 1 million shares.
Oh, yeah. He's a crack up, that guy. Yeah. Can't think of his name. The gentleman that fell out of the tree, Rick. Yeah.
Rick.
Like hearing his story was just, and the things he does, like, and as I said there that day, like, I didn't even know the guy, but seeing what he was doing there, and I just thought, wow, this guy is, and he did inspire me, like, to be so flexible and do that stuff. And I just go, oh, this guy must be a fitness freak, you know, to be able to do all these things. And then hear his story after that and realise why he's actually doing it, you know, and just it really opened my eyes up to just, I guess, and then understand that he doesn't have a choice. He actually has to do that. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to do what he's doing, you know. So, yeah. And there was definitely other guys, I guess, but I guess I can't remember exact specifics, you know, but yeah.
Yeah, and I'll roll out. We've got a library we're building where we've got the entire event recorded, which will be awesome, because just going through it on my own as I've been looking at all these videos, there are so many takeaways from you guys. And Rick, yeah, like you mentioned, you're having multiple back operations, but he looks fit and strong and healthy. He's 45. I didn't think he was 45 when I first met him, because he was so fit and healthy. And so he just looked, I just naturally assumed he was younger. And then we realize that we all have our own demons, not just physically,
That's it. Yeah.
but how it affects our life or what we've gone through, or any challenge that we've gone through and whatnot. But, mate, is there anything, like, we're coming up to the start of a new year, is there something that you really want to see or change or conquer? I mean, there's going to be dads in 2021 who listen to this, and 2021's already here, but is there something in particular right here and now that you might have filled in that last portion of our event on what you want to do coming into next year?
This is probably the hardest bit that I find, is actually, like, writing down goals. I don't know why I'd struggle to write things down, I think, but I guess one massive thing is that, like, when I get to that 12-month mark, I just want to make sure that am still doing the same things that I'm doing now, I guess, just sticking to that routine, not dropping off, or falling by the wayside at all, So I've been very, very on track with everything so far. I have probably had a couple of weeks either side of Kosciuszko where my, I guess, train exercise dropped off, but I think a bit of that was a fear of hurting myself. And then I guess after the event, like a lot of blokes, were probably very sore after that because we'd done so much physical activity in those couple of days that it did take a little bit for the muscles to recover. And but I guess, sticking to these routines. Obviously, it'd be nice to see the weight drop off to maybe where I want it to, but I'm not overly concerned on that. I'm sure my body will change and I'll see muscle grow. And I guess the biggest thing is just keeping this confidence and just getting build that relationship just to make it as strong as it can be with my family. That's a fairly important thing. So, yeah.
I mean, they're great points, great goals. And you're right. So, goals like that are probably hard to write down in specific words or in the sections that we have where you can't just do it in a paragraph and you got to feel your way through it. Like relationship with your family, that's huge. That's everything, mate. When you're looking at what you're doing with your own life, how that has a ripple effect. Like I said, what your daughter wrote to me was just, it was humbling,
Yeah.
I welled up in my room. It was just like, man, it's unreal to see this ripple effect. And then also, like you said, being consistent in what you do. If it's incrementally moving you forward and 1% every day getting you ahead, why would you want to change it? In 12 months' time that you're going to be another 5 or 6 or 7 months in front again. And the body will change. It's steadily changing now, which is awesome. And all of this leads into, how old are you at the moment, mate?
43.
Yeah, like this leads into the best version that 44-year-old Matt can be, and then 45-year-old Matt. And then, mate, we will blink and it will be 2030, just like the shirts on the back of your shirt, your Dadstrong shirt. It's even this year, how fast has it gone, even with all the chaos?
Yeah. And speaking of my daughter, my wife is actually one of the girls she played softball with many years ago is involved in this course that they're doing here in Brisbane early January. And this is the first one they're ever going to do with girls from 11 to 17. And it's a 3-day course where they go and stay there for a couple of days. And it's kind of like what we're doing here, I suppose. It's teaching kids, a little bit of fitness stuff and a bit of life skills stuff. So we've had a talk to her about whether she wanted to go, and she's really excited to go. So we're going to send her this course in January, and I think it'll see her change a little bit and, help her develop going into high school next year. So, maybe that's something we never would have done if I wasn't where I am right now. I probably would have said, what a waste of time. Like, why are we doing this, So, but you can instantly see the benefits,
It's incredible,
so,
mate.
Yeah.
And you see that tenfold when they become adults. We're talking RDM about planting the seeds and nourishing it and seeing it grow. Our children are no different. We influence their environment. We control a lot of their environment very heavily. And, it's something to get her and back her in doing that. It's going to be life-changing for her. It really will. We will have real kids movement one day, mate, so don't worry. Tell her not to worry. We'll do our charge-ups half an hour before the dads. But, it's awesome to see that carryover effect, and which ultimately affects you, mate, in your life, because they're an important part of you, mate.
That's right. Yeah, definitely does. Makes you very proud.
Yeah, it's like you said, mate. It's something you thought you might not have done before, and then you hear. And these are the opportunities that we talk about that sometimes we can't even see until you actually start living through that certain perspective or that lens or that way of being. And I guess for us, mate, it's been awesome having you on. But is there any bit of advice? And I mean, it doesn't have to be, hey, give Al a call, but any bit of advice to a dad who's obviously not part of RDM, who's probably feeling the same, where he might be in Groundhog Day, or has more shit days than good days, or he's in a bit of a rut. Any advice or anything that you pass on to, mate, who might be listening?
I guess if you're in that situation and you think you need to change, then you just got to do it. You just got to stop thinking about it and just, whether it's RDM or something else, if that's what you need to do, you just have to do it, regardless of what other people might think or judge you or whatever. Just, it's your decision. It's your life. You know, it's what's best for you. So, there's no better time than now, eh? So, because if you're in that spot, you've probably been in that spot for a long time. You know, it doesn't. You know, I probably was in that situation on and off for 5 years. You know, probably longer, but I guess you're set in that way of life. But 5 years on and off, I probably fought it, and you know, 10 weeks was the longest I ever did. Well, now I'm at 20, so I've already doubled that, and I can't ever see it changing. It's just, you know, RDM for life, and you know, I don't ever want to change. I just want to, I guess, keep going forward, and
Appreciate the kind words, mate. And it's something where now you're 20 weeks in, you got a real understanding of what we do. You're right in the thick of it, and you're an integral part of the crew. I don't know, like, what do you think would have laid ahead for 53-year-old Matt if you didn't do something?
Oh, I guess you could just see that you'd be one of those statistics, you know, where maybe not in your 50s, but maybe by late 50s, you know, you're probably at that point where, you know, you'd be on medication all the time. Like at 40, I reckon probably for the last 5 years, depending on what doctor I went to, they've been trying to push me on that cholesterol medication, and I kept saying no. You know, I said I can do something about this, and I never did. But that's the problem when you get to that point. You're on that much medication. You're a heart attack waiting to happen. You're like, you know, life would have never got any better, you know. And I guess I can see that with my dad now. You know, he's 78 and he's just had his first fall. You know, he's walking around with with the walker. You know, he's lost all his confidence to walk because he's scared he's going to fall again. But and I guess he's old school, like he worked hard all his life, but he never done anything once he retired. Like, they sat in the couch for 6 months over COVID and done nothing because they were so scared of dying that, like, you know, they just lost precious life. And now this has happened and setting back again. And I think it just opens your eyes up to say that I want to be in a better physical and condition, you know, and healthier condition than he is at 78, you know, so that I don't have those issues that he's having right now, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you touching on that when we were at Kosciuszko, when you and me were having a bit of a yarn before we went up the mountain. And it's hard, mate. And it's hard when it's those that are closest to us, but it's really hard when it's ourselves and we know it too. Like, you don't have to live in fear. People think they're afraid of dying. They're afraid of life, because if they don't live life as high as they can, when they're about to die, because we're all going to die, mate. When they're about to die, they then get it and they see it and they realize, with all the regret and everything, they're filled with remorse on what they could have done, that they didn't live life, and they're afraid to push or get uncomfortable, like you said, or what other people would say, or judgment, or fear of their own level of expectations, or ego, you know, I can't do it, or she'll be right, or I'm not good enough for this, self-value, self-confidence and respect. It's all this bullshit that floats around in a lot of fathers' heads because they're so busy and chaotic in life. It's like, hey, just slow down for a second, stop. All we have in RDM, same for you, Matt, is your best interest at heart. I just want you to win, mate. I'm not your wife, and not your boss, and not your son or your brother or your cousin. I just want you to win, man. That's all we want in RDM. And when you have that in your corner, a lot of the times we can blow through the bullshit and fluff in our own heads to go, hey, what am I waiting for? What am I so afraid of? That I don't even realize I'm afraid, but I actually am when I stop and think.
And And I guess, yeah, that's right. Like, I guess for many years you're looking that there must be an easy way to lose weight. Like, you know, I'll go to the doctor and get drugs, Duromine or something to lose weight. Like plenty of people have done it, but it doesn't. It's a quick fix. It's not going to last. But to actually look back now, 20 weeks later and think having the support is huge, but it really wasn't. It really isn't that hard. You just have to change some very small things, and you're already doing what you can to be better. Hey, so
it's amazing, isn't it? It's when you're not on your own. When you're on your own, yeah, it can be. But when you're not on your own, you got the right tribe. It's never as hard as they think. It's actually harder if you don't, because like you said, fuck mate, 50s, late 50s. Imagine how hard it'll get then. 60s. Imagine how hard it'll be then, physically and mentally, and you're on your own even more. That's what's hard for me, mate. Like these small hard decisions are actually much easier for me across the grand scheme of my life.
Yeah.
And the hardest decision when that light bulb moment comes. Like I don't know any other way you want to put it.
And all those little sayings I tell my kids all the time. They'll be sick of it, but I always say to them, like, do what's hard in life will be easy, and other sayings that we say, and they're probably like, yes, Dad, whatever, Dad, like, but I can say now, what's that saying? And they say it, like so it's amazing, all those little things, hey,
That patterning, I wouldn't call it program, but that patterning that you're building in making them think. Look, I love dad jokes, mate, but there's probably a bit more depth in what you're saying there than the dad jokes we hurl around. Getting the kids thinking. My children, and it's not because I want some robotic philosopher in my daughter, but Stella, she's 4 now, and I just start to embed just a couple of, they're just small, simple seeds of self-confidence and reflecting and thinking and being present with themselves. And mate, she'll be miles ahead of me. For me, with my parents, which did a great job nonetheless, but it was believe in yourself and do whatever you think you can achieve and you will in your life. And it's like, okay, that's great. But when you're overweight or getting bullied or getting things, just to have one thing to anchor back on can be hard when you don't value yourself instead of a series of things that your parents continually show you through their actions as well. Like what you're doing right now, mate.
And even if they don't understand what I'm saying until they're 20, one day they will understand all these little things that we're telling them. And when they do, it'll be worth it. Hey? So no matter how long it takes, whether it's 5 years or 10 years, that one day they will understand it and they'll gel with it, I suppose, because they'll remember. My dad said that for the last this many years,
Mm-hmm.
So
it will click. I'm 100%, mate. I agree and believe and have seen that. But awesome having you on, mate. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah,
it's been great and a good bit of wisdom to pass on. Like it was unreal having some of your shares and a bit of your story and sharing that, especially at the start when we're talking about alcohol and just things that people do. Sometimes they do without even recognizing it, without even reflecting on, hey, is this actually good for me? Like, am I enjoying this? Or is it just a habit or a behavior? But the biggest one is what you finish with there, Matt. Don't wait. Do not wait. 2021 is around the corner, and a lot of dads will be listening to this in 2021 because we're 11 days away, which means you've got 6,000 hours left for that year. That's all we have, mate. 6,083 hours every single year, conscious, awake. How much of that is being spent foggy, drifting, floating through space or through your own bullshit and stories and excuses that we all have? This is never a pointing the finger. This is an empathizing, like a sharing with you. We're all in the same boat, mate. And having the right tribe can help you get out of your own way. And having that will and desire to change and not wait, like you said, Matt. Not wait. Don't fuck around. Get it done. Start changing your life is one of the greatest things anyone can ever do.
That's it. Because if you keep waiting and eventually, if you ever do eventually make the decision, then you'll have, I guess, regret that you didn't do it a long time ago. But and there's nothing you can do about that. But yeah,
very true, mate. Very true. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, Real Dad Movement. Our podcast, probably the most popular thing that we have, I guess, with reaching fathers. Don't forget, we've got Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. So you can watch this on YouTube if you're listening to it now. If you ever need anything, let me know. But at the moment, for the next 2 months, so December and January, we've got Tribal, The Power of Environment. We're giving that book away for free. It's going to show you exactly what Matt was talking about, which really is hard, isn't it, sometimes to communicate, mate? It feels like it's surface level, but the guys who aren't on the inside have no idea. But this will open up your eyes on how much your environment influences your life and what you actually do. But yeah, thanks again for joining us, Matt. Loved having you on, mate. And
no worries. Yeah, it's been good. Thanks, Al.
yeah, look forward to listening to this one again. And I always get good shares out of what you guys have, but I definitely want to go through a lot of these podcasts again because there's just awesome little nuggets that you guys push out where I don't have to be thinking about